Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and we're welcome to another interesting session. Okay, 1 second. Yes. Yeah, you're welcome to another interesting hot seat session. And today we have, there's a feedback. I don't know whether it's from my end.
I think it's from your end, Fala.
No, okay. And I think it's from Mr. Onyema's end, so I put him on mute.
Okay.
Yeah, it's better now, yeah. So we're welcome to another interesting hot seat session. And today we have no other than Mr. Kenneth Onyema on the hot seat. And I also acknowledge the presence of Milord. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, this is not a training session. This is just a discussion session where we all just have discussions on contemporary issues surrounding mediation. And the mediator we have on the hot seat is to basically connect with the essence of knowing why he does why he or she does what they do, and most importantly, to basically hear their perspective on mediation generally. So today we have Mr. Kenneth Onyema. So Abby, can you please do us the honors of reading out his bio before we get into the business of today? Thank you.
Okay. I'm just responding to something in the chat. Okay.
Yeah,
Mr.
but before I
Onyema.
continue, can I confirm audio visual from your end? Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, great stuff. So good to go.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Mediation Hot Seats. So today we have with us my teacher, my mentor, Mr. Onyema. He's a lawyer with a current registered civil engineer and an active ADR neutral. He's very passionate about alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. He's also a consultant with the ongoing ROLAC/British/European Union sponsored project on adapting restorative justice in the Nigerian criminal justice system. He is presently the chairman of Interbar Foundation and on the board of Interbar Construction Company Limited. He's a member of the board of trustees of the Attorney Mediators Association, amongst others. He's a member of the Nigerian Bar, the Association of Professional Negotiators and Mediators. He's a member of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators UK, the Lagos Court of Arbitration, the Society of Construction Industry Arbitrators, ETC. He is a trainer at the Lagos LMDC and the Enugu MDC and the SCIA faculty. Kenneth graduated from Ohio University, Athens, Ohio, USA, as a civil engineer in 1979 and subsequently obtained an MBA in Finance and Management from Marshall University, Huntington, West Virginia in the US in 1981. He served his NYC scheme in Plateau State Polytechnic, Barking Ladi Jos in 1981. He lectured on structural and geotechnical engineering to OND students. He worked with the British construction firm Taylor Woodrow Nigeria Limited as a design engineer in 1983 and Valma Nigeria Limited, a dredging, trading, and real estate company, as managing director in 1985. He left the firm in 1990 but remained on the board in a non-executive capacity.
Thank you.
He was appointed executive chairman of Equilink International Nigeria Limited, a firm specialized in the provision of complete engineering works and services and compromise of competent Nigerian professionals and competent Nigerian professionals that tested small private jet companies skilled in specific engineering fields under a central management and control in achieving a particular target and goals. While on a project in Benin City in 1999, he enrolled in the part-time law program at the University of Benin, graduated in 2005. Subsequently, he attended Nigerian Law School and was called to the Nigerian Bar in 2007. Mr. Kenneth Onyema is married with children.
Okay, thank you so very much. Let me unmute Mr. Onyema. Okay.
All right. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And I'm very glad to be here, really.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much, sir. And we don't take this for granted because we know how busy a man you are. So we're going to get right into it, sir. Now, the question I'm going to ask, first of all, is two-pronged. First of all, sir, we would like to know about your sojourn into engineering, then into law, and then into mediation. So can we start with the engineering part, then the law, then the mediation? So I just flows one into another. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Fola. It's amazing, really. I was very good in secondary school in the sciences. And when you do that, the tendency is to go into either engineering, law, medicine, or any of those scientific subjects. However, I was kind of enamored by one late man now, Sir Joe Nwankwo, who had a company called Sir Joe Nwankwo Engineering Company. And he was just a fantastic builder. He built the Enugu Olympic-sized stadium and a lot of projects. So I kind of took an interest in it. So when I went to United States, I enrolled into civil engineering and did well, if I may say so. But while we are doing engineering, when we started doing engineering law, I became a little bit kind of interested in law. And indeed, I remember my professor then, Professor Shema, he told me, Kenneth, you should try to do law. You are very good in law. I said, yes, sir, but let me finish this one first. So at the back of my mind, I've always had this desire to do law. And of course, when I finished engineering, then MBA was the thing reigning at that time. You had to have an MBA. So I spent, almost 2 years and got my MBA. I guess that answers the question. When I came back to Nigeria, I was busy working and remembered the word of Professor Shema about law, and of course, interested in law. So I enrolled part-time. A friend of mine talked me into that, really, I must confess. Yeah.
Then how about mediation? How did you find out about mediation?
Now, that is a story. One thing you may not know, I am from a royal family, and in my father's palace, when we were growing up, during Nigerian Civil War, I think I was about 10 years old or thereabout, people would come around there to resolve disputes. And I would just sit down in the palace and see how these people, chiefs and old people, resolve all kinds of disputes, ranging from civil to even criminal matters, and passing out judgments that stays, and everybody respects that. Indeed, what really brought the, if I may say, instability in the system of justice in that place was when they, and don't get me wrong, when the federal government brought a police station in that town, it's a little town. So whereas before the police station, people resolve matters within families or within the local community. And if it gets beyond that, before it gets to the Igwe's palace, that's gone, and everything goes well. But now when the police station came, you run to the police and police backed by a force of law and all of that. So it caused, and that's something we should look into, really. It caused a lot of instability, dislocation in the cultural way of resolving disputes. But that got me interested in it. And I've been kind of a quiet person, if you may say so. Always they want people to come around to resolve matters for them. So that's it, really. So mediation was like a natural thing for me.
It's funny that you actually mentioned this because I was actually going to weave a question around this, and someone passed a comment last week, I don't know who it was, and said mediation is a lost legacy. And what I was able to deduce from mediation being a lost legacy is that we've always had it in us, but somewhere along the line, things changed. And I'm going to lay a premise for my question. Now, mediation is supposed to be it's a way of life because based on our interpersonal relationships with people, when disputes arise, one way or the other we mediate. And it has always been like that since time immemorial. So, sir, going by what you said then, where do you think we got it wrong? And I use the word getting it wrong because from disputes being resolved by the traditional heads, chiefs, and all of that, now we are now confined to some judge who is disassociated from parties, not now taking decisions and all of that. Where do you think we got it wrong? I'm trying to unmute you now, sir.
Well, Fola, that is a very interesting topic. You cannot divorce justice from the cultural way of doing things. You cannot copy absolutely what people are doing elsewhere and bring it to your locality and put it there as law. No. The cultural aspect, what people grew up with, the norms of a society, the values of a society, the culture of a society built over the years, over time, and the repository, the wise men, the older people in that place, passed from generation to generation. And you sit down in that locality and resolve matters in that cultural way. People tend to accept that resolution and abide by it. In every group, everywhere, there are groups qualify. People can form groups. People can really form groups. And when you have a group of people, either by territory or by tribe or by religion, they have some values in common. And when a dispute arises, you look in there, that's where you can get a more enduring solution. You don't go and bring in whole people to court and charge them and throw the book at them and all of that. You've not really solved a problem. You've solved a problem in the short term, but in the long term, no. Does it bring any transformation in that person? So you find that even in mediation, one of the ways I use in resolving matters is to reach out to that group, whatever group I identify that person belongs to. So if it's, for example, a religious group, Muslim, I go into the Muslim thing, but that is what that person naturally have affinity with. Every other thing is imposed on him. If it's a tribe, if it's an Igbo man from a society, I reach into that society, and there you find the spirit of the ground, the spirit of the land there, and you tap on it. You can bring lasting change and lasting solution to a matter that way, and it has worked really. I'm not hearing you, please.
Okay, yeah, so and now some schools of thought believe that another reason why arbitration and litigation is thriving is because there's a subconscious mindset of people people are accustomed to being told what to do. They believe that that once there's a dispute, there has to be somebody that needs to tell them what to do. Like the traditional head, the chief, will say, "Okay, fine, this has happened. This has happened. We command you to do this." And that is one of the reasons why when the colonialists came, they were able to come up with that kind of structure in form of a court system. And now that we are where we are now, and that we're beginning to see the benefits of resolving issues amicably, there is still some sort of a people still they haven't exactly grasped that concept. Can that be one of the reasons why mediation is not being appreciated as an effective means of dispute resolution? What are your thoughts on that, sir?
I don't know what makes you think that mediation is not being appreciated. Mediation has been absolutely
in comparison to other means of dispute resolution. It's still a far cry. If we're going to compare it to arbitration, compare it to litigation, in comparison, it's still a far cry, especially here in Nigeria / Africa as a whole.
What do you think, I really disagree with that.
Okay, please, by all means, sir. Thank you.
As a practitioner in alternative dispute resolution, I will disagree with that. Because even in arbitration, when people agree, if As a matter of fact, when people agree to resolve on their own terms, they are more likely to keep to the terms of that resolution. But when you impose a judgment on somebody, like the arbitrator can impose an award on you, or the court system can impose a judgment on you, you don't just willingly. You may even have to go to court to even break the, that. So it is a problem. But if you look at mediation, and that's just where I find mediation so lovely. Nobody, you are the one wearing the shoe. And I agree with you, people want to somebody to impose, so it's okay, you are right, you are wrong. But in mediation, we're not looking at right or wrong. As a mediator, you move them away from right or wrong to interest. Is it in your interest to pursue this matter? Is it in your interest to continue having this dispute? And you work the skills that we all have learned in mediation, apply those skills, and the people will see that it's not in their interest. But I agree with you with one thing. That the challenge is, how do I know it is good for me to settle, but how do I accept that? Why? Because everybody has what I call supporters club behind the scene, who are not, the club people are not there during the mediation, but you still have to go back to them. You still have to go back home and explain to your wife, for example, oh, I settled, I agreed. The woman will tell you, you are a very stupid man. Why did you agree on those things? You are very weak. So you need somebody to say, I've passed judgment on you. I have passed an award against you. So you can tell your wife, I'm giving an example with wife now, when you get back home, oh, if it is not, in fact, I wouldn't have agreed, but the judge imposed the judgment on me. You can even start accusing the judge of what, like most people do, or accusing the something. So one thing that we need to learn how to do is for a mediator to help that man that is before you, that has a dispute, that knows it's good for him to resolve, the supporters club behind him, the invisible forces behind him, making it difficult for him to settle, because he has to go back to them. We don't have enough time, like giving you quite a few examples of, but I'm sure most of us mediators have seen that kind of situation. So the challenge before us is this: how do you accept that responsibility? You need to accept it, so that when the man goes home, he will tell his wife, if it is not for that mediator, I would not have agreed. The mediator made me, whatever story he wants to tell his supporters club, but he is comfortable because he has resolved on his own terms, on the term that he's comfortable with. And he will live with it, and he will adhere to the terms of settlement. I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying, Fola.
Oh, yes, I do. I do. And okay, now, I'm too eager to jump into the table shaking moment. Mr. Ken, I'm going to take your observation. Please, 1 second. Once I'm done, I'll take your observation. Thank you. So my next question is in form of a story. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you one unique. I've been honored or opportune to be a mediation advocate to 2 or 3 parties in which Mr. Onyema has been a mediator. And he has a very, very unique style of mediating. So, Mr. Onyema, please, I'm going to tell me what category this falls under, because I know they say there's evaluative, facilitative, and transformative. So whenever Mr. Onyema wants to mediate and it comes into the session, no matter how tense that place is, what he does is to try to diffuse the air, to make people relaxed, cracks a joke, tells them that there's really nothing to be worried about and all of that. So in doing that, he makes parties be at peace. Now, there's a second unique thing that you do. And most times, now during the caucus session, you stand up from your seat as a mediator when one party has left, and you move to the other side, and you're staring at the parties. And I've noticed that it has a therapeutic effect, because now they no longer see you, because sometimes they see mediators as judges, but you're no longer sitting there as a judge. Because when you did it to my client, I know the feedback I got was like, the moment he stood up from that seat to go to the other side, I no longer saw him as a judge. I saw him as someone I could talk to. You've done that once, twice, thrice. And when it happened the first time, I just assume maybe it was a one-off, but it happened 2 or 3 times. So 2 things I've noticed: you always stand up from there, you sit on the other side, and you diffuse the situation. Now, what is that? Is that evaluative? Is it facilitative? Is it transformative? Or is it an Onyema style? So I would like to hear your thoughts on this. Then after that, Mr. Ken Okechukwu, you can have the floor. Thank you, sir.
You know, I don't have any fixed style. I adhere to the style, the person I meet there. I remember one mediation, the woman was so distraught, all kinds of stories. And how, in fact, I came in as an intervener on that. So I sent the mediator out and I just held her hand. Just held her hand. I started crying. So there's a lot of emotions when people have this foot. And you must know how to adjust yourself to those emotions. Sometimes just silence. Sometimes just listening. In fact, in all cases, you must be an active and very good listener. The fact that somebody is pouring away the innermost feeling, whatever is bothering you, and somebody is actively listening to that, it makes a lot of difference to that person's psyche. So when the person comes to trust you, and that is the first thing you must do as a mediator, to get the parties to trust you, so they can be open to you. So when a party does that, you are really halfway through. In fact, you're on your way to getting the party to settle the matter. So the important thing here is adapting, really. So I can say, I remember a few that, you know, and when you have lawyers on the other side, battering, putting up all of those things, it boils down to one thing, really. When there's a problem, everybody have interest. The lawyers have their interest, which may be diametrically opposite to that of the client. I mean, what do you as the client want? You have a legal problem, you want it over in the shortest time possible, is that not right? And at the least cost. But that is opposite to the interest of most of us lawyers. We want the matter to drag on, but as long as it's dragging on, the lawyer is making some money. I'm talking about some lawyers, not all, so don't get offended. Or he's beefing up his profile. He wants to be a senior advocate, he wants that, so he wants to take a matter up to Supreme Court and back, and all of that. A simple matter. And the client is paying for it. He's the one suffering it. All the stresses, all the sleepless nights, everything is the client. And so sometimes we need to look at the things that we do as lawyers to help these people. You know, a lot of people have actually, I will say that, let me not offend some of us, right? But I've had a few interesting matters, and I tell when I'm mentoring young mediators, I tell them, please I will teach you the principles, but don't do what I do. Because sometimes I get involved. I remember one day I was in a session, I don't know whether it was one of the ones we were in, when the young man actually went to Third Mainland Bridge and attempted to jump in and commit suicide. A young man with a young wife and 2 children.
No. Mine was a bit dramatic because they hadn't spoken to each other in over 30 years. But you were able to make them hug on that day, but it was not that one. The 2 we had was dramatic, but not that one.
Oh, really? Okay. But this particular one, why I want to cite this actually, just came to my mind, was when he came to the mediation, he was looking so distraught. And we're in a plenary session, and I noticed that this guy was not there. So I sent everybody out and I asked him what exactly. They told me the story. He went to Third Mainland, he's fed up with life, this, that, or the banking dispute, and people are coming to disturb him, his wife, everybody. So he was just gone. What I did that moment, I don't know what made me got up, went behind him. You remember that story? And I gave him a very dirty slap on his face. And
I was hoping you were not going to say that.
and he was like, ah. But do you know that brought him back to life? And from that moment, we went into solving his problem. I had to go with him to meet the people he was owing money and all of that, and everything he brought the solution himself. But you see, dispute block you when you are charged up, when you're all worked up. The solution is right there in front of you, but it's blocked. You know, so I don't know. It's the principles are there. And I encourage everybody to know the principles of resolving matters. But you must adapt to. There are no two. It's not like a litigation where you apply the law to the facts and come up with a judgment. No. This one, you are out there. It's like sailing in the waters. You are in the ocean. There are no rules, except ethical rules, perhaps. There are no procedures of court to bother about. There are no technicalities at all. It's just you and people in the middle of the ocean. You want to save them. You want to save their lives. And I believe one can, every matter can be resolved. Every civil, even criminal matters can be settled.
Thank you so much, sir. I have two hands up, but I need to make a comment. So you slapped the guy. Now, would that have been part of reality testing?
No.
Or that was just Onyema style?
No, to bring him out of where, he was gone. It was for someone
so you shook him back?
Exactly. Can you imagine somebody going to call me land break, looking at the water? In fact, I told him, first of all, next time you could don't look, just jump.
Just jump.
Just jump. When you look, you will change your mind. So, but can you imagine that?
Okay, so but now I don't know if I'm assuming the gentleman was in shock, so you brought him out of his shock state.
Exactly.
Okay, so I mean, I'm glad that went well. Now, would you have done that if you were younger than him?
If I were younger than him, I wouldn't even try it.
Okay. Okay, so I have a question. I have a question tied to that.
Yeah, the culture we are in does not permit that. I grew up respecting anybody older than me. That was the way I grew up. But at the same time, it helps too. A young man, maybe about 20 years younger than me. So my mind was, you have a young wife, you have 2 little kids. Who will look after them? I asked him, who will look after them if you go and if you jump and die? Indeed.
Okay.
Actually, they came back thanking me and all of that.
Okay. Mr.
Please, don't do that. Nobody should do that.
Can you please unmute yourself, sir? Your hand has been up for a while. After that, we'll take Mr. Mubi.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me, House?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Let me start from the very last point that Ken was making about slapping to get someone back to himself. Now, this is based on a principle of the emotion of shame. Our people here are more sensitive to shame than legality and legal right and all whatnot. There are times that if you stick to legal rights, you don't get them to shift ground. If you even insist on their interest, okay, you don't. But if you try all this and then push them to a corner where they feel shame. I will give you a practical example of an intervention I had in a matter. The mediator came to me that she had tried all possible, in fact, she wanted to close the matter, for inability to the inability of the parties to settle. And she called me and I came. And the two parties, a man and a woman, both older than myself, and they were fighting over an inheritance from their father. The woman was older than the man. And so now I didn't want to, apart from the brief that the mediator gave me, so I called them respectively by their titles and all that. And then I said to them, I asked them the location of the property, and they told me. And I said, oh, I know that place very well. And I know that place, oh, so many years ago, even at the time your father was struggling to keep that property there, so many men sold their properties to be able to follow Fela in his entourage to London. But your own father, denied himself of that and kept this for you. And do you know that in Africa, Yoruba people, because they are Yoruba people, I say Yoruba people are known for respect for elders, especially parents. So I call their names respectively and say, wherever your father is now, looking down, seeing the two of you, do you think you are respecting him now according to the culture of the Yoruba people for having the courage to chop remain? He chop remain for now. Other people chop finish. Other people say chop bese, keep for their own children. When they die, that their children they pay bese. Forgive the language, but we have to drive the point down.
Yeah, so Mr. Okechukwu,
I
sir, we
did
don't
not
waste too
know
much time,
that.
sir. So what's the question, sir? Sir, we don't waste too much time, sir. What's the question?
So no, okay. So oh my God, are we in shortage of time? Sorry.
Yes, we are.
So
We are, sir.
I
Thank
left
you.
everything. Yeah. Okay. So both of them bent down, and I noticed tears coming from their eyes. Both of them. They were both older than me, like I said. And on that premise, they agreed to share to settle. That was the end of the matter. I visited the question of that Ken said he slapped someone to bring him back. There are times
sorry, sir. Excuse me,
okay.
sir. So basically, what you're saying is, our people are culturally sensitive to shame, as opposed to the position of the
Yes.
law.
Now for
Great.
Igbo man,
Thank you so much, sir.
sorry,
Sir, I'm going to have to
my
cut you
God.
short, sir. I have somebody whose
Oh
hand is up.
no.
We are time strapped, sir. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you so much for your
so okay.
contribution.
So be
Thank you, sir. Mr. Amobi, can you please unmute? Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you please keep it short and sharp? Thank you.
Very well. Very well. Talking about culture, Mr. Onyema, is it possible for somebody who doesn't understand culture to apply culture? Your comments, your observations on the issue of culture and tradition and all that, and using those things to settle the dispute. Am I right to say that it presupposes that a mediator must therefore be learned in quotes, learned? Thank you.
Am I to answer that?
Yes, please, sir.
Yeah, no, you don't have to be learned. All you need to do is be wise. Be wise enough to sit down and apply the culture to them. You don't have to be learned. Dispute resolution is not exclusive reserve of learned people.
Sorry, sir. When I said learned, I mean versed in culture. That's why I said learned in quotes. Yes, that's why I said learned in quotes.
In the culture of the people?
Yes.
Cultural intelligence now. Cultural intelligence. Something like that.
I'm not discussing cultural intelligence. You must understand a thing to be able to apply it. That's what I'm saying.
Sorry.
Mr. Amobi, if I understand you correctly, you are saying if the person will be versed in the cultural practices of the people. Is that what you are saying?
Very well, please.
Yes. You can only do what you know. If you don't know anything about the culture of the people, then please don't even try to apply culture in resolving their dispute. So you need to do some kind of research or understanding, or bring somebody to join you who is versed in the culture of those people. But when I say culture, I mark one thing. I'm not just saying culture. Every group has their norms and their values. You can use the religious group. Christianity, there are certain principles of Christianity contained in the Bible. You can use those principles when you are dealing with Christian people or Islam or Buddhist or whatever. You can apply those principles. That culture encompasses all of that. Town union, trade groups. You have, luckily, trade groups, what do you call them? People that sell, let's say, electronics trade group. They have a union, they have a group. And they have some values, some norms in those groups. Those things can be exploited. Let me tell you one thing. There's a matter I resolved. The guy owed a bank serious money, and I was able to get him to pay the bank by just reaching out to the president. I found out the president of his town union. And when I mentioned that to him, he was embarrassed, because he don't want to go home claiming that you came to Lagos, you made billions of naira, you're owing a bank. So quickly, he settled with the bank. So the point I'm making here is, when you find out the group that people belong to, it can be a cultural thing, it can be a town, it can be wherever, and know what their norms and values are. And somebody is inside him, a member of that group internally, he will not want to embarrass himself with that. So when you do reality testing in mediation, that's one thing you can actually utilize.
Okay, sir, thank you so much. So now, I'm not sure exactly who it was. He had mentioned sensitivity to, okay, I think it was Mr. Ken. He had mentioned about sensitivity to shame versus legality. Is that in line with what you're saying?
Can you come again, please?
He spoke about sensitivity to shame versus the position of the law.
Well, whatever sensitivity, however you want to put it, if it's to shame.
Or maybe I should say cultural sensitivity, or cultural is the word I can think about right now.
Yes. I think I would start, because what Mr. Ken said, also, and Mr. Amobi, two distinct things come into play: the concept of mediation, culture, and religion, and it also reinforces. And I'm sorry, it's still going to tie into your question, but I've always had this strong belief, Mr. Onyema, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that ultimately every mediator has to come up with his own authentic style of mediation, and that there's really no universal definition or concept of what mediation is, which is one of the reasons why I believe that I may be a very good mediator here in Nigeria and be a terrible mediator in the UK, based on the concept of culture, religion that you have mentioned. So the question I'm just trying to ask now is that, vis-a-vis the concept of culture and religion, is this: how important are those two concepts to the whole genre of mediation generally? Is it very important, or it does not really matter?
Quick answer is, it is very important. But let me explain a few things to you.
Thank you, sir.
Every human being, you, Fola, me, Kenneth, every other person.
Me, Abby.
Including you. Is made up of two distinct beings. The Fola, or the Abby I'm looking at now, and the inner internal being, Abby, that I'm not seeing. The invisible Abby, if I may use that word, and the visible Abby. The people we are dealing with in everyday life are the visible people that we are seeing. But there are invisible parts of those human beings. Mediation helps you, allows you to penetrate into that invisible person. And the person may not be fully conscious of that, 100% conscious of that. It's when you ask the right questions and you penetrate that, you start seeing a lot of things. It's like money. So you want to bribe somebody, corruption. Money is good, isn't it? Money is good. Everybody likes money.
See my smile as you mentioned money.
But not all money is good. The same money, same paper you are seeing that says $1,000 or whatever. It is not all money that is good. The same money. There's money that I will give you, and your inner being will not accept that money. But your outer being, because Abby wants to love money so much, she will grab it. But the inner you will be disappointed that you took that money. And it will create problem for you. That's why some people collect money, get money, and the money is useless to them, and it creates more problem for them. And then there are some people who collect money, and the money grows and grows and makes them happy. The essence of life really boils down to happiness, isn't it? Everybody wants to be happy.
True.
So when you understand these things, the principle of the inner being, the principle of the spirit in one, it's easy for you to penetrate somebody that is particularly in high emotion disposed, like a family. Somebody mentioned inheritance matters and all of those things, which I have done quite a few, husband and wife issues and all of that. But these are very high emotion family matters. You need to penetrate those spirits, the inner being of those people. And you'll find at the end of it all, they all come from one source. They're all uniform. They all come from one source.
Okay,
They all
so
have a source in common.
okay. I mean,
And
this your response, we can have a series on it. For like,
Okay.
do you know where I'm going with this? This inner person conversation can be a whole series. Well, so thank you so much for this. And I mean, I'm wowed. I didn't expect any less, sir. So this one source, now you're making my questions look trivial. This one source, would you say this one source is a culmination of everything, you know, our culture, our religion, our traditions, the home training or lack thereof, our society? You know, I'm sure I personally believe all those things have an influence on, you know, the person who everybody relates with. So the Abi you relate with, the Fola you relate with, the Mr. Onyema you relate with. But that inner person that you've talked about now, the invisible one, would you say he or she is a combination of all these things I've mentioned?
If you accept that humanity came from one source, and over time, we start splitting into different sources. Let's assume, or let's start from you. You have your great-grandparents.
Yes.
That's the source of your grandparents, your parents, down to you and your brothers and sisters, down to your children, down to your grandchildren and great-grandchildren, all of that. The root of all of these things, all of you, that great-grandfather of yours. If you can take your or let's say your child has a dispute, and you can take that child to that source, we are all one. All of you are one from there. And from that place, you start taking your individual behaviors, and the criminals in you will start coming out, the good ones will start coming out, and all of that. And a good way you can apply that in mediation is that life is dynamic. Life is not static.
Yes.
Life is dynamic. Somebody can be a criminal yesterday, and tomorrow is a pastor saving souls for life, for Christ.
Yes.
Why? We've heard some of them said, oh, yesterday I was an armed robber, and today I'm in the pulpit with the Bible preaching Christ, the same human being. So what changed? What happened? That's dynamism of life. I must tell you one thing, and all of us know it, mediators, that whatever led to a dispute has happened. But when you apply the law, when you apply the law on that, life is not static. You are applying the law on somebody who did something in the past. The person may not be the same person as of the time you're applying the law on that person. So mediation comes to the rescue and encourages the person and all the parties to look forward. What has happened has happened. Take a leap of faith to a better future. You can control the future, but you can't control what has happened in the past.
That's so true, sir. So thank you so much. Although you didn't answer my question, but we'll take that, if there's still time later. So I have some comments in the question. No, we'll talk about that later, sir. So there's some questions and comments. Well, comments here. I'm just going to go all the way to the top so it doesn't say I don't miss anyone. Okay, so Andrew Parsons says what Kenneth is saying is very wise. I am glad I joined this meeting. Amoche says, quite insightful. Okay. Mrs. Sage says, I'm sure she was referring to you slapping the guy back to reality. What a way to diffuse tension. Andrew Parsons says, Kenneth is one of the best speakers I've heard in a long time. He is smart and funny. I am staying to listen, delaying a video conference with clients in the US. Okay. Mr. Fatogun says, good session. Margaret Orakusi says, brilliant performance and highly educational. Thanks, Kenneth Onyema Esquire. Okay, that's basically it. Fola, I'm going to
okay then.
Hand over to you now.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, sir, we're going to leave this and now look at what I would like to call the standardization of mediation in Nigeria, Africa as a whole. But before we get into that, from your perspective, sir, why do you think mediation is not really, why do you think mediation is not at par with other means of dispute resolution, and why are lawyers, in your own opinion, antagonistic of the process of mediation? Because I'm sure at some of your sessions you would have witnessed some lawyers who don't even want to go through that process. So based on your experience and your people, why do you think that is so?
Yeah, it's a matter of interest. First, let me take the lawyers' resistance to mediation. Lawyers feel that mediators or mediation is taking away business from them, taking away money from them. I want to put it as simple as I can, that creates a block, but it also creates a challenge for the mediator. How do you overcome that resistance of a lawyer? Example, a client, when a client goes to a lawyer, what do you expect? He's expecting that he will take him to litigation, isn't it? Then you go to litigation, the court says go for mediation. And you go to mediation in less than 1 or 2 sittings, the matter is resolved. Meanwhile, you've already promised, or I agreed with your lawyer, you're going to pay him 1 million naira, expecting that this matter is going to drag on for 3 years, or expecting a lot of work will be done. But here in mediation, the lawyer played little or no role, the matter has been resolved. So it can also understand why there's a resistance on the part of a party to pay his lawyer. I'm talking about payment now. So what do you do as the mediator? Sometimes I send the parties away, just sit down the lawyers in my mediation room. The gentlemen, I know what their challenges are, so they just say, go and tell them what you want to tell them, But the fact that we are there, or I'm talking to them, the person say, oh, your lawyers have been very cooperative, very helpful, or let them go and give you the state of the law on 1 or 2 items. Let them be seen to have worked. It makes it easy for the client to pay. Once a lawyer gets his money, he's not bothered about, he will not resist the mediation. In fact, he'll be happy, one file behind another one coming up. But when you go in there, quickly resolve a matter in no time, and the party doesn't want to pay his lawyer and start resisting payment, why would the lawyer be happy? He would resist it, I would resist it. So when lawyers resist mediation, that is really most of the time, that is the reason. Then another reason is some feels that the law must make a pronouncement on something. You know, there must be a pronouncement on it. Well, nothing wrong with that. But it's a dispute. And parties are feeling pain. Parties are hurt by it, and they want to resolve. I don't know how many of you have been in mediation where the party wants to settle. The lawyer is telling him, you cannot settle.
We test that a lot.
Party say, I want to resolve it. Say, you cannot resolve it. I'll pay you your money. I'll pay you your fees. He says, you cannot resolve it.
Now, sir. Yeah, now, Milord, I'm going to take your observation after this, Milord. 1 second, Milord. So how about the end users? Why do you think some of them are antagonistic towards the process of mediation? After which we take the comment of Milord.
Ignorance. We need to create more awareness. Ignorance, yeah. We need to create more awareness of mediation and the benefits of mediation. A lot of people are ignorant of what mediation is all about. A lot of people are to sit down with their adversary and settle a matter. Don't forget, when there's a dispute, they don't talk anymore. They don't talk. All communications are now through lawyers. And here you are making me sit down with the guy that I have a dispute with. No. There'll be a resistance on it. And that's why when we train mediators, we have on creating a rapport among the parties. Take them for the mediation to take place, you know, so that they can actually converse. Don't forget, mediation is merely one of the key things in mediation is to make the parties communication. And that alone has done a lot, you know. So,
true.
I'm talking about more like personal matters now, but even a commercial dispute. So the end users resist this out of ignorance. But once they taste that fruit of mediation, once they taste it, they don't want to go to litigation anymore. We know, and I'm sure you know, of one of the major construction firms in this country. In the dispute resolution clause, which, by the way, to my mind, is the most important clause in any contract. In the dispute resolution clause, you must make it a 3-tier clause. If they don't agree by direct negotiation, they go for mediation before you start thinking of arbitration or litigation. And more often than not, matter gets resolved in mediation.
Okay, sir, please, can you hold that thought? Let me take Honorable Justice Rolliman. Then I'm still going to come back to that trail of thought. There's a question I want to ask.
I have the comment as well.
Yeah, okay, but let's take
Milord. Okay, Milord is unmuted.
Yes, Milord, over to you. Milord. Okay,
maybe she's not there.
She's not there. So, Mr. Onyema, okay, Abia, I'll come back to you. What are your thoughts on mandatory mediation? Still flowing along what you just said now, sir. Because if at the end of the day, if you say it's ignorance, and we are able to break through that barrier of ignorance for them to see the benefit of mediation, do you or do you not think that just like the proverbial horse being forced to the river and given the option to drink, do you think that if mediation is made mandatory for parties to see the benefit, do you see that as an added incentive to mediation and also hastening the growth of mediation? Generally, what are your thoughts on mandatory mediation?
One of the key things in mediation is voluntariness. Yes, the courts order you go for mediation, isn't it? Go for mediation, but you don't have to participate in it. You've obeyed the court order. So when you say mandatory, it takes away that from it. You know, you cannot force. You can take a horse. You can force a horse to a stream, but you cannot force it to drink water.
But sir,
And the law-
court referred is mandatory now. What do you think? Let's be honest, sir. Court referred is mandatory.
So if you have
Yeah.
attend the mediation, you don't have to participate. You can sit down there and refuse to even talk. You have obeyed what the court asked you to obey. Go for mediation. Or even if you talk, you can refuse to get out of your position. You can refuse to make any compromise or collaborate for anything. So the mediator will simply send a report back that the mediation has failed. So mandatory, but a skilled, I don't know, I think it was you, there's a mediation we had on oil and gas matter, and the lawyers there were trying to say it is the contract says negotiation or arbitration.
Yes, arbitration. Yeah, they went on and on and on. Yeah, I remember that session. Yes.
And I know you were a little bit think that this was the end of it all, but I allowed them finish all their talk, and I said, well, what is mediation? Mediation is only assisted negotiation. You guys cannot talk to each other. So we as mediators, we only encourage guiding you to understand yourselves and your issues better and talk. The resolution is due. I will not impose a judgment on you. I will not impose a resolution on you. So it is you that will determine what the outcome will be. On that, remember, that matter, we settled it, and we are all very happy. You know, so mandatory is get them on the table and then break the ice and let them start talking, and you are halfway there.
Okay. Abby, do you want to take your question before I go? On? I just wanted to say
Please,
something.
yes, I did.
Yeah.
So further to what you, Mr. Onyema was talking about the ignorance of parties, right? I personally am of the opinion that we are, well, not we, but people are more, it's more of a mindset thing, not wanting to participate in mediation. Or maybe it's a fusion of ignorance, having a litigious mindset, wanting to be vindictive, and just that show of force or power, like, you know, I'm what's the word? Not oppressive, but I will show you. I don't know if you follow my thought process or my conversation process, Mr. Onyema.
Absolutely, I follow, and you are right. The human tendency is, well, use the word oppression. Perhaps that word is good.
Yes,
but that's the
well,
human tendency. You know, we will go to court, I will deal with you.
yes.
And don't forget, before the dispute, perhaps these are good friends, good relationship, and blah, blah. The dispute now came, and they want to go and destroy each other in court. Because we are used to litigation, we are accustomed to litigation. When there are disputes, you go to their lawyer. First thing it goes is to the court, and the court will straight litigation. But luckily, we have multi-door courthouses now that look at these matters and assign them to the mediation or arbitration or any other ADR process. But people grew up. I grew up. There's nothing like people grew up with litigation. But all the downsides of litigation is making mediation popular.
True.
And there's a lot of,
very true.
Yeah.
Gladly so.
So, and the costs are overloaded.
Yes, they are groaning.
You know, I feel so sorry for them. I mean, all their life they'll be reading books and dealing with matters morning 24/7, and they will never get close.
Writing in shorthand.
But strip all these matters of all the rules of court, all the technicalities, procedures, get the parties to sit down and talk. In no time, they are home free.
Okay, so that brings to mind the question. So mediation is flexible.
Come again?
It's party-driven. Mediation is flexible. The whole
Yeah.
process, it's flexible. We know all the tenets of mediation. Now, would you say that that is a problem? Now, when I say problem, I'm talking about how people perceive mediators. So with the 2020 situation, COVID, there's been a proliferation. Okay, I think I've had too much coffee. Of online dispute resolution, online trainings or certifications of mediators. So now I have people calling me and say, oh, I was certified 2 days ago. I'm a mediator. How am I going to start? Or can you help me? So now that person would, if they say raise up your hand, you're a mediator, would raise up his or her hands, has no experience. Now I'm trying to tie this in with the flexible nature of mediation. How does that, I mean, it's good when it's being used as a tool for, dispute resolution. But now I'm looking at it from a mediator's point of view. You know how you go to law school, you have done 5 years at university already. Would you say it's kind of lessens the importance of the profession, the 5 days, 80-hour training?
I'm not sure I quite understand your question. Can you?
Okay, so I to become a mediator, I get certified. I go to LMDC, I get certified. 5 days, 6 days training, I get a certification. So I go in on Monday, on Friday, after submitting my assignment, 2 weeks after, I'm a mediator.
Mm-hmm.
But to become a lawyer, I have to go to university, I have to get into law school, I have to get called to bar.
Okay. So are you now saying
now
that?
As a lawyer, I'm a professional. So my question is, does the certification process demean the profession or belittle?
Okay. I think I get what you're saying. Don't forget that 1 week training that you get as a mediator is intensive and compressed.
Yes.
Am I right?
Very right.
Anybody that goes through that thing knows that it is not.
It's not child's play. It's not for the faint-hearted.
If you break it up to the way law school goes, for example, or normal school goes, that 1 week. And that's why people fail it. That's why people get virtually brain fag and all of that. It's intense, but it's a professional course. It is a professional course. It is not a course for you start from, basics to tops. So it's a certification course and a professional course. So you come, we compress it. In fact, we are continuously trying to see how to make it more efficient, more to adapt it more to our local circumstances, reduce the time. And I'm aware that in one of the places where I'm in the faculty, before the beginning of the course, they send you assignment to do before you even start. We give you some work to do and an assignment to submit before you start. So we'll be able to accommodate everything within that 1 week window. So it doesn't demean it by any means. And there must be a continuous learning process. I'm still learning. I'm still reading up on mediation. I'm still practicing. I'm still mediating, even a dispute among friends and all of that. So we continue improving ourselves, improving our knowledge, on it. So you don't tell me that because you're a lawyer since law school, or me, an engineer, since engineering school, I would not do continuous education, learn more about the engineering profession. No amount of school prepares you absolutely and conclusively for any profession. Do you understand that?
Okay, yes. And sir, I'm still going to ask a question along that line, but we have two hands up. Andrew, we'll take Andrew's zone. They will now take Venerable. Andrew, over to you.
Hi there, Kenneth. I just say straight away, amazing talk. I'm a background English barrister, but yeah, and I have a arbitrator, mediator, whatever. And I'm listening to what you're saying. I've mediated in all sorts of how can I put this, conflict zones over the years, and what you're saying is just absolutely fantastic. One of the best things I've ever heard, really. The way you're talking about people, how you get to think about how they feel. Yeah, sorry, I've got a client.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
But
okay,
I'm finished.
Are you done? Okay, please continue.
I'm finished. What I want to say is that when we talk about cultural issues as a mediator, what I'm interested in is, do you think that it actually matters whether it's a cultural thing there? Because if you're a good mediator, you can mediate everywhere in the world, can't you?
And if you're a good mediator, you what? Come again.
If you're a good mediator, you can mediate anywhere in the world. You can, yeah, so long as you have the sensitivity that you obviously have. What I like about you is you've got the sensitivity. You understand the cultural issues that are going on in the country. Yeah, so it's
yeah, well, as a mediator and across many jurisdictions, certain things are common. Certain trade practices are universal. But when we get into cultural, unique to a particular jurisdiction, then if I have to mediate a dispute there, I will get one person from that jurisdiction who is familiar with that culture to join me as a co-mediator, or I spend some time study very objectively that culture to be able to have a successful mediation.
Well, I'm only asking the question because I've mediated cases all around the world. I didn't actually find that the cultural differences mattered in the end. I mean, like you said, by the way, that's why I really like what you were saying. It's all about what people think and how they feel, get to the bottom of how they actually think and feel. Never mind what the lawyers think, it's all about what they actually feel and think. So, by the way, great, absolutely great.
Okay.
I'm glad I heard what you said.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, Venerable, over to you, sir.
Kenneth, how are you doing? At least I'm seeing you online today. It's been a while. Two things. I would rather not want to use the word cultural. I want to use the word local nuances, things that pertain to that area, because I want to get out of the word culture. A nuance is something, the way they are, their belief, their process, we need to understand it. And I totally agree with you that it would be a wrong thing for a person who don't understand the Igbo culture, for instance, to mediate within red cap chiefs, being fit 12 or 13 red cap chiefs before you. They won't understand how they grade themselves, but a person that understands their nuance, that knows them, not necessarily culture now, is a nuance, understand their way of life, it might be easy to penetrate and then get across to them. That's one. Number two, Abby was talking about after being a mediator, being trained at a mediator 5 days, and just immediately after you call yourself a mediator. I will I'll differ slightly, because I know that when I did the SCIA training, before the day, they sent us some questions, they sent us some write-ups, which also to write, to do some stuff, write the right stuff. And after the training, they still give us, for the next 1 month, we are writing, they are sending questions or we to do a write-up and send across to them. And I think that's what MDC is doing now. I think what they try to do now, correct me if I'm wrong, I might not have, maybe Kenneth will know better than me, in terms of they attach, they make them serve a tutelage or something, or some sort, for 3 months, attach them to people, co-mediate with some other people, just to learn. The thing is that people like title, they know, people like being called, being given title. So immediately they finish, they say I'm a mediator. But in the 2 sides of the world, they don't have a clue of what mediation is about, right? So I think LMDC on his own side, I think they try now, I think so, to attach people, to attach new trainees to, I call them now, to, in quotes, senior mediators or other mediators to learn. And then they, before they finally start giving them fee-paying mediation to do. I just want to dive in because immediately someone finishes, they call themselves mediators. That's just us in Nigeria. Everyone wants to call. When I did my training in Canada, it wasn't, their own is own something that for a long time, for 6 months, I was just writing and listening to stuff and giving opinion. I wasn't doing no mediation until much later. They said, fine. And that was with just even a firm, a body, right? So I think the way we call ourselves here is what it is. People just immediately want to call them mediators when they don't even know what mediation is about. That's my opinion. Just to comment on what Abi said, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. I agree with you. And the body you're talking about, would that be Adriel?
Yes.
Okay, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Follow up?
Now, yeah, okay. Now, I'm Venerable. I just also muted. Okay, Mr. Onyema, can we take your feedback on what Venerable said? Vis-a-vis, first of all, the issue of local nuance and culture. Well, culture is more general. I think local nuance is the nuance is a bit restrictive. But if you now look at the concept of culture and nuance, I am of the opinion that it's all encompassing. Because when we talk about culture, that's to do with the way you dress, your mentality, and all of that. So, do you think the local nuance captures the essence, or would they rather stick to the concept of culture as all encompassing? That's just riding on what Venerable just said.
I think it's more a question of semantics. You can call it whatever you want to call it, but it's just more a question of semantics. Basically, when you are faced with a situation that involves cultural issues, and you are not part of that culture, you're a mediator outside of that, but you are part in the sense of local nuances. You know, if you do that, you understand those things, you understand the culture, you follow the culture. You cannot. Sometimes it's even an advantage because you are looking at it objectively without being in any way prejudiced. Because we all have our individual prejudices. We are looking at it externally. So yes, I think what he's saying from that perspective is absolutely correct. Yes, I would like to.
Yes. Okay. Now we're going to just deviate from this and go into a different topic. And the topic has to do with mediation, mediators, and stream of income. From your experience as a mediator and a trainer, can you please elaborate on ways mediators can have more streams of income as far as mediation is concerned? Because a lot of times people find it difficult to have mediation as a sole practice. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, first you promote mediation. You let people know about mediation. You have to sell something. Don't sell yourself, I'm a good mediator, no. Sell mediation. And where do you do that? We come in contact with all kinds of situations, we come all kinds of people. We belong to churches, we attend one church or the other. We belong to one trade or the other. we belong to one organization or union or one or the other. Disputes are all over the place. Court cases are all over the place. So you need to let them know that there is another way, perhaps a better way to resolving these matters. So you need to market mediation. You need to talk about mediation. As a matter of fact, what you are doing, what we are going through now in this webinar, is part of it all. Utilize technology, reach out, give talks. In the Society of Engineers, I talked to them about mediation. I've had neighbors with issues. I apply the mediation principles that we learn and get those disputes resolved long term. So you can make money that way. You don't rely on LMDCs referring matters to you. I don't know how many millions they pay you, but don't rely on that as making money. But you can create that. I'll tell you what I did in one particular case. I went to a microfinance bank, and they have this large, huge portfolio of delinquent loans, and so many people, and the MD was just fed up. And I said, why don't you pull these things up? Let's try mediation. You can't get everything that you want, but what the law allows you to get, you can get. And so far we've done quite, and it's enforceable. We resolve these matters. We take them to LMDC. They will adopt them. You pay the prescribed fee, which for now is about 20,000 naira. They adopt that terms of settlement. I will give it a suit number, appoint a case manager, get everybody to sign off on what you have already resolved, and that's it. So why can't we? We know, all of us, nobody, disputes all over the place, and we know we need to think out of the box. We need to get out of the shell where we are, our comfort zone. Go to law firms. They're all big lawyers. They all have files and files of cases, and they're ignorant. Some of them are ignorant of mediation. So you go there and tell them, why don't I come audit your cases, bring out the ones good for mediation, resolve them, get those files behind you, and the ones that are not good, you go ahead and do those ones.
Okay.
So you need to market the profession, and then you need to get known as a mediator also. That's on an individual basis, get known as a mediator, but market mediation and write about it. I think some of the while we see, do you know, sorry, I need to say this. Do you know, I resolved an electoral dispute.
Really?
Election
and mediation. That's a new one.
Yes, and they resolved, they settled. The parties involved settled. Took us only, we started about 9 p.m. in the night, around 4 a.m. in the morning, we signed terms of settlement. So opportunities are out there.
Okay. Now, Andrew is leaving. Andrew, okay. I just want to just quickly drop a comment. Then I'll take Honorable Justice Walliman. I know Harriman. Sorry, I know she tried. Her hand was up, but I didn't hear what she said. So Andrew, very quickly, what do you want to say before you go? Andrew, I'm trying to unmute you. Okay. Honorable Justice Harriman, I think your hand was up. I don't know. Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I thought you wanted to say something.
Right? I'm still here.
Okay, never mind. I thought you dropped a private comment with me saying you wanted to say something. Okay.
Hello? I'm still
hello?
here.
Okay, yeah. I thought you wanted to say something.
No, what I wanted to say is that overall, I need to leave soon, but what Kenneth has been saying in overall about what a good mediator is, what I like about what he's saying is you don't necessarily have to be a technical guy. You just have to look about how people are. You get to drill down to how they're, what's going on with their dispute. I do this I'm a commercial mediator, but you'd be surprised how often that sometimes the disputes are about money, but sometimes it's personality clashes. So you have to look at how people are, how they're behaving. So what he's saying is absolutely right. I can't, also, it's he's actually said in a quite nice way, in a very sensible and intelligent way, what it means to be a good mediator. So I've never met him before, and I can see him online still. But yeah. So by the way, I'm not his big. I'm not part of his fan club, but I now am. So there you go. So, there you go.
But the lighter note, both of you have the same unconventional approach to mediation. I think that's what makes you stand out. Mr. Kenneth, you have to admit that some of your approaches are
I
a
have
bit
to go
unconventional.
now because I've got some work to do.
You have to admit. Okay, it's fine, Andrew. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, sir.
Bye,
Now
guys.
we also have okay. We also have a cross section of entrepreneurs and people that are curious about mediation. So I don't know. What do you have to say to them about mediation and how it will most likely be in the not too distant future?
Entrepreneurs.
Yes, we have entrepreneurs. We have people. We have business owners. We have end users here. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I understand that they are not business. They are in business to do their business. They're not in business to be in litigation and all of those things or dispute. The cost of dispute is very high. Not just the tangible cost. As a matter of fact, to me, no matter how many billions are involved, those are the bottom of the line. The intangible cost of a dispute is extremely high. Damaged relationship, negative publicity, stress, distraction, uncertainty. So many things that we take for granted because there's no dollar value or naira value attached to them. But if you can attach figures to those things, they are much, much more than whatever you are claiming. They affect your health. Can you imagine one case file, one dispute out of the way? You sleep well, very well that night, if nothing else. It's like a big load off your shoulder. So entrepreneurs, businessmen, you are not in business to be going through all of it. You are in business to do your business. You are in construction to be constructing. You're not in construction to be going to court. But disputes are inevitable. They must come there. So you do everything you can to prevent disputes or to manage disputes. Come to mediation. And you don't have to wait for dispute to arise before you start resolving the dispute. You can actually prevent a dispute from arising to threaten your business if you have the right structures in place. Like in construction, we have this Bible in big time construction called FIDIC. FIDIC, I think clause 21 of the FIDIC, what we have books, red, yellow, green book. Those are technical things some of us may not know, right? It provides for dispute avoidance, how to avoid disputes on a construction project, which you can apply in any other relationship, commercial relationship. And what is that? It has a standing dispute board that will nip the dispute on the board as it arises. And in a construction project, all it takes to ground it is for one woman that you didn't pay for supplying you granite to go to court and get an injunction and slam it on you, and it stops. When it stops, the cost to remobilize is high, not just money cost. Some of your skilled workers may have left for other projects and stuff like that. But when you have a dispute board there, that woman will go and complain to the dispute board, maybe the project engineer or there, maybe the first port of call. And that one will look into why you have not been paid your money without grounding the project. So entrepreneurs, there's no reason why we should be rushing to court for everything. Businessmen can simply have dispute prevention attitude, mindset. There's one big time businessman I know in this country, as big as he is, and he's really big, doesn't have one dispute in court. Not one. And when I asked him, how? Because every other person I know have multiple disputes in court. How? He said, because he walks away. They cost him more money to go through all of that. So he walks away. You may call him a fool, but you are the fool. So he walks away. He does everything to prevent a dispute, but instead he will face a dispute, he goes away from it. So I will really advise businessmen to face their business. And sometimes it's better to walk away than to go through the whole log of dispute and the troubles involved.
Oh, okay.
And I come in contact with quite a lot of big time businessmen, and I counsel them. And some of them it's like an opening for their eye. So I counsel them. I tell them, why do you have so many cases in court? Oh, I have my, my lawyer, my senior advocate, my this, my that. So if you want to have a law firm, open up a law firm, employ lawyers, and you know you have a team of lawyers. But your business, face your business. Because the interest, let me tell you, let me paint a scenario for you. There's a motor accident somewhere, and people die, dead bodies all over the place, and people gather around the place of different professions. You have a priest, you have a lawyer, you have a doctor, you have a policeman, you have a mechanic, you have a robber, you have a kidnapper. Each and every one of those people around have their interest that they follow. So the priest may be looking at, what do I do for this person to go to the right place after life, hell or heaven? Do I have to administer the last sacrament? The doctor may be looking at saving life. The robber there may be looking at stealing something, the same scenario. The lawyer there will be looking at, who do I get a client matter to handle? So everybody have interest on the same scenario. So you are the businessman, you are in business, but people around you, they all have their unique and particular interests, including your lawyers, including your employees, including the government, including everybody that has anything to do with that business or with the economy or however it is. They all have interests, distinct and separate from your own interest. So you need to watch out for your interest. And when you have to shake off all of those things and move on, you move on. You don't like trouble.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you,
thank you so much. It's been an interesting and insightful session with you, Mr. Onyema. We weren't expecting less, so I want to thank you so much for your time. Thank you for teaching us this much and all of that. And I don't know, Abby, do you want to say something before I round up?
Yes, I do. There's a question, and I think.
No, I think we're out of time.
Goodness, 6:33.
Yeah, so we'll take it next year. 6:33.
Okay, wow. Mr. Onyema, it's as if we should do part 2 of this.
No, there's going to be part 2 though. The standard.
Okay, great. Yeah. So, because I have about 7 questions here I'm looking at, and we didn't get there. Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate your making time out. We are so grateful. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. We will never take you for granted. We thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who's joined. Milord, thank you so much. Although we couldn't get to respond, we are here, ma, but we couldn't get to take your comments or questions.
We unmuted you, but we couldn't hear what you were saying.
Yeah. Maybe because of the rain or service issues. Thank you so much, Mrs. Miss Osareme, Mrs. Sage, everybody, Venerable. Next week, Saturday, we are here.
Yeah, I really want to take that. So, Mr. Kenneth, do you have any final words before we call it a day to those?
Well, thank you. I know there's a beautiful football game going on at the moment, and I thank all of you for leaving the football to come and join us in this section. And then for mediation, I would like us to consider one thing, MEDAB, mediation arbitration, a combination of that hybrid process. I think that will help us in resolving a lot more disputes. That is
So our dispute resolution clauses.
The
Thank
NMA.
you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So next week is going to be very interesting. We're having a mock mediation session, and we'll be taking a true life scenario. I'll be having Venerable Akin Johnson as the mediator, and I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but it's going to be
Let's leave it in the bag. Let's leave it in the bag.
So one of the reasons why we've come up with this is for people to have an idea of what really happens in a mediation session. In view of the confidentiality ascribed to mediation, a lot of people don't even know what happens in a mediation. They think it's just for parties to come in and mediators listen to them, and it's a lot of work. So the scenario we're taking, of course, for the sake of confidentiality, the names will be changed, but and the mediator only has the background knowledge. It doesn't. Everything is unscripted, it's uncurated, and I can assure you we're going to have a lot to learn from this mock session next week. Abby is going to be the applicant. I'm going to be the respondent, and once we're done with the mock session, we're going to take comments, feedback on the disposition of the mediator and the parties, and just have a general discussion around it. It promises to be very interesting. So we look forward to seeing everyone next week, Saturday, 5 p.m. prime time. The same link as always. And I wish you all a beautiful week ahead. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.